So it's Aries season 2023, a major period of upheaval. This month is the biggest month of the year. And this week, as the sun enters Aries, sees major activations on a whole host of levels. So we're going to break it all down in this video. Aries season, try to extract some themes and try to get into this so we can ride these waves of change. Stay tuned. All right, so here we are, the big month, March 2023. All of these sign changes, all of these outer planet sign changes, it's a big deal. And so I just want you to take a little bit of time to acknowledge that, hey, this is a big deal, a lot of big shifts and changes, and it's happening in your life as much as it is happening in the outer world. That's the nature of astrology, as above, so below, in the collective and in the interpersonal and in the immediate surroundings. You can go as small as you want and see these changes reflected in the nature of a particular environment. So acknowledge that and give yourself some credit and some love as we move into this very dynamic time. Let's jump right into it. Oh, you can see here these art generations I've got. I put three here, three circles, because we have three Syzygies here in 2023 Aries season. There's two new moons, and of course the second one is a solar eclipse. So we get that first solar eclipse of the new axis, Aries Libra, as the nodes shift into Aries Libra here in 2023. And then we get this full moon in Libra, so I'll be breaking all of that down. And here we go. Here's a kind of an extraction from the ephemeris of just my major themes and the things that I am looking at. Jupiter, Cazimi, and Aries is going to be a very big deal. That arrives on 12 April 2023. Right there, and I think it's the 23rd degree, 22nd or 23rd degree. We have a chart up which I'll look at later. But that Jupiter Cazimi purifies this fire Jupiter, and it's the culmination really of this Jupiter and Aries cycle that's been around since summer 2022. And then we get this Cazimi of Jupiter in between these two new moons. And so in one way, we can think of this kind of purification period that's gone on with the Aries sector as Jupiter has been there, setting us up for a 2-year period of eclipses in Aries. And so this is a lovely time to lean into those Jupiterian significations of truth, wisdom, justice, revelation. We have Mars entering Cancer. We have Mercury entering Taurus. We have Venus entering Gemini, of the traditional planets changing signs. So we've got 3 of those sign changes. And you can see that they're all major. They're all absolutely major. All of that I'm going to break down here in the video, or some of it I'll break down. And we have Venus and Mercury conjoining the North Node. So we get the ping on that nodal energy, the North Node energy. Check out the last video I did, Are You in Love? I talked some about that energy, but the fatedness, the fated activations of the nodes, particularly at a time when we also have a solar eclipse during this solar season. So there's a lot of nodal and fated turnings in our reality that we get to enjoy here. And this is why I was saying at the beginning of the video, like, pause and realize how major all of this stuff is. And then finally, like I've already said, we get these 3 Syzygies, 2 new moons, one being a solar eclipse, and then the full moon in Libra. And these two, the first new moon and the Libra full moon, are the last 2 Syzygies that are not eclipses in the Libra-Aries axis for some time. And so if you have Libra placements and Aries placements, enjoy this period here. Settle in and feel in to what it's like to not have eclipses in those sectors, because it's about to get transformed by the nodes and by the solar eclipses. My favorite predictive technology is, where are the eclipses, where are the lunar nodes? Those sectors are about to get transformed. I'll have a whole video on it. Okay, and I know a lot of you are just saying, hey, SJ, you're missing something, you're missing something. You say traditional planet sign changes, well, what about the big story, maybe the biggest story? And no, I didn't forget about it. Pluto is entering Aquarius during Aries season. Pluto will enter Aquarius here in days, about 5 days from where I am recording this video. Major event. I have a whole video already written where I'm going to break down what I see as the core themes of this transit. So I just wanted to mention it here as we're doing an overview of Aries season. You get this sneak peek, March through June. This first little sneak peek, 23 March 2023 to 11 June 2023. So this is major. It's absolutely major. Just look out for that video. It will be 2 videos from now, but I'll have it released probably the day before of Pluto's entry into Aquarius. So look out for that. Very, very exciting. And just some of the themes that I'm going to break down in that video. This slide's from that video. Pluto's death and rebirth brought to the structures of power and foundations of society. That's what Saturn ruling Aquarius is. It's those foundations of society, even mental and idea sets that are the foundations of society. Pluto will destroy and then create rebirth around those things. Transformation through technology, the fourth industrial revolution, exploring the nature of being vis-a-vis technology and finding the deepest meaning of what it means to have incarnated as a human being. This is the struggle because the sun is exiled in Aquarius. When Pluto gets there, it's these core meaning struggles to find out what it really means to be alive. So we will find consciousness and soul, I think, more than we ever have with Pluto and Aquarius. That's just a little preview of a video that's to come. Okay, so back to some charts. 4 sign changes will have taken place. Here is the charts of the 2 Syzygies, the new moons. The first new moon in Aries is at 0 degrees Aries. You can see it there. That's the same degree of the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in 2026. Very important. That conjunction is a major signal that reality is about to shift. You can check out the video I did with Dan Waits at World Astrology Report. We broke this down completely, but it's things like calendrics and even language itself. This degree of Aries is extremely important for that, and the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune signal that these new turns of reality are about to take place. And so we get this first new moon in Aries. I have a separate video. I'll break all that down as well. That's the video that I'll release before Pluto and Aquarius. But then you can see here, by the time we get to the eclipse on 20 April, at the last degree of Aries, you'll have these 4 sign changes. Pluto is now in Aquarius. You will have Mercury in Taurus, Venus in Gemini, and Mars in Cancer. So major period of alteration just from acknowledging that we have these planets changing signs. Always changes our charts, right? Changes what sector of our charts are being activated, let alone considering the energies and the context for each of those sign changes, which we need to do, obviously, to have the full depth of understanding. But just, this is the major point I want you to keep in mind. Aries season, massive shifts and changes of some of these long-term cycles we've all been waiting to shift out of. And I will break some of those down here in this video. All right, next, this is that last Syzygy in Libra that is an eclipse until 2025. That isn't an eclipse until 2025, but you can see it here. You've got the, these are the eclipses. And so you've got the this fall rather on 14 October is that solar eclipse in Libra, the first solar eclipse in Libra. Then you get a lunar eclipse in Libra on 25 March next year, 2024. Then a solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd, 2024. And then that's only that next eclipse season where you then have a lunar eclipse in Virgo in March 2025, when Libra will not have any kind of eclipsed syzygy. So get ready. What is Libra? Arts, creativity, society, justice. It's kind of the foundations of creativity and those structures to celebrate with other people, beauty and the arts, negotiation, diplomacy, all of those things. It's relational, and these this last full moon may be like feeling into the artistic and the creative and the relational in your life, just as it's about to change and alter. And of course, this is in all of our charts differently. We all have different houses where Libra is, and that those houses are comprised of the sign Libra differently in every chart. But the nature of the sign itself is the same, that energetic of the Venusian, and then the more reasoned and deliberate ways we construct relationships. That's about to majorly get eclipsed here. So feel into this 6th April Syzygy. Again, another video to break it all down. I'm just doing a high level thing here for those that want to kind of feel into Aries season here a little bit and get prepared. I'll have more specific breakdowns coming out later. I'm going to break down a few things in this video, but not these Syzygies. They get their own videos. I like to do it that way. Okay, this is the first big breakdown I'm going to do in this video of 2, a major thematic breakdown. And the first thing I want to talk about is the water element taking center stage this Aries season. And the major aspect is Mars and Saturn will form a trine. But if you look at these aspects, they're going to unfold. You have Mercury entering a Taurus, and it will sextile Mars in Cancer 3 times because Mercury has a retrograde. It does not station retrograde during Aries season, but Mercury gets pretty darn close. And it will station retrograde right at the beginning of Taurus season. And so that's a whole nother component that I missed in this video in terms of a breakdown. It's really just to say, and I talked about some in the last video, that Mercury will saturate and cause reviews and delays and pauses in that Taurus sector. But the thing I love about it is that Mercury will make these 3 sextiles to Mars, 2 of which will be from Taurus to Cancer. And so it's this very lunar, home-like, comforting exchange between talking about our home and talking about what we're building in the home. And I love how this Mercury and Mars sextile arrives after 7 months of Mars in Gemini, and Mars is full retrograde there. It's almost like these 2 planets now have some time to settle into some softer energy and process all of these major changes that are happening in March 2023 and that have happened over the last 7 months of Mars's retrograde. I was just posting a little bit online. Twitter's totally revamped, new ownership. They've got new rules about transparency. It's really working well. But it almost died during Mars's retrograde in Gemini, and now it's back. And so I think one major theme of this water element and earth element taking center stage in these very supportive aspects is settling into the new home. And I mean by that the home of this new astrology. Saturn in Pisces, Pluto in Aquarius. The node's now shifting into a new sector. We have to settle in sometimes when things get really new. And that's one of the major themes of Mars and Cancer. It's building in that home. It's using the tools and the action orientation of Mars to make the home comfortable. And so we get that here at kind of a perfect time. Remember, Mars has Egyptian term dignity and night triplicity dignity from 25 March to 8 April. Those first 2 weeks after it ingresses into Cancer, Mars is as strong as it'll be in the sign. And so it really is an opportunity to use this planet of building and doing for these emotional, creative flow states and these home-like flow states and the love that we give and the nurturance for others. We use the martial building power to build for those themes. And of course, Venus and Taurus is sextiling during that whole period. That's why I love it so much. Venus overcomes Mars by sextile while it's so strong in these first 2 weeks in Cancer. You see that. So it's a lovely, lovely time to enjoy creativity in the home, creative building in the home. And creative relationships in the home. Find the people that you live with or around. Put on some music together. Play music together. Did you ever do that? I used to in college, and had roommates. We'd always play music. It was what we did. We would turn off the TVs and just get the guitars out and sing and play together. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. These are the kind of things I think Venus and Taurus overcoming Mars and Cancer can do. Little home concerts with people you're close with and that you love. And then the last thing I'll just say in this chart, this is the chart on 30 March. In the evening in Central Europe, where you have Saturn and Mars perfecting the trine. And to me, this is emblematic of the whole energy that we've entered into here in Aries season, as you have the water trine with the malefics. They were in a mutable square, tension around change, and now they get into a water trine, which is comfort and settlement within the emotional state. And Saturn in Pisces is major here because it provides a container for all of those explorations we're doing, all of the creative stuff that's happening in your life. We can ground with that container. And I just would think about, what are your creative projects? That's what all I'm focused on. I've got tons of stuff going on. I'm loving this energy. I love the new Piscean water vibe. And I think Mars trining Saturn will allow us to propel into some action with whatever your new creative visions are, since Saturn entered Pisces, particularly with the sextile between, again, Venus and Taurus. Look at that. It's a beautiful sextile trine relationship. And so this is a moment here, I think, after the new moon and as we get here pre-eclipse to really get creative. You can do whatever you're doing. I mean, you can apply creativity to anything, even the most non-creative seeming job like garbage man or accountant. You can get creative with how you do it. You can sing at work. You can just feel into the beauty of the moment and put creative things around you. You can have art on the wall or put music into your environment. But Mars and Saturn are both very constructive planets, maybe more than any other, in terms of building, making, and doing with the hands. And so it's in the sign of home, Mars is, and Saturn is in the sign of creative expansion. You, again, may look for these kind of constructive moves around home and creative expansion. Major, major theme here, maybe peaking in some sense on 30 March as the 2 planets perfect the trine. Now, I want to go a little bit deeper with this water energy, this Mars-Saturn sextile and this water energy. And one of the major ideas I have here is moving from the head, which is Mars and Gemini. It's all of that action, intention, and force of life around the technology and the thought and the analytics and the categorization, That's what we've lived under for 7 months or over 7 months. But that now shifts into the body, the emotion, the feeling, and the intuition, which is Mars in Cancer, acting from the place of the more inner states, less verbal than Gemini, way less verbal, and less mental and head-oriented. It's feeling into action. You know, sometimes you can see people that they just get into an intuition when they act. What is it, Karate Kid? When he's like closing his eyes, or I think it's Star Wars I'm thinking of, when Obi-Wan says, close your eyes, and he's trying to block those little, pings from that training module, and he closes his eyes and he's feeling into how to act. That's what Mars in Cancer can be. Is our body is our home. It's where intuition lies. It's what Cancer is, and we can now act from that intuitive place. And so the one person I thought of here was Bob Ross. This guy was amazing. Here's some quotes from Bob Ross. He was an American painter, art instructor, and television host. Majorly popular when I was younger. And here's some quotes. Let's get crazy. I love that Bob Ross quote. There are no mistakes, only happy accidents. All you need to paint is a few tools, a little instruction, and a vision in your mind. And it's very water and Piscean, it's like you would watch Bob Ross, you'd be like, oh, it's okay, just no accident, just a little happy mistake. It was like going with the feeling of how he would paint that canvas and how he would organize it, always bringing nurturance and that vibe as he created. Painting, I think, there's a martial side, because you would see when they would cut the paint with like these knife-like tools, that's Mars, and the idea that Mars is a builder, you can use some of the martial side to painting, I think. But again, it's this kind of it's getting into action, so little instruction, just get into the action, that's Mars. And it's a very calming energy that Bob Ross had of kind of making the home more beautiful and doing creative acts in the home. So I bring Bob Ross in. And the thing about Bob Ross, when you bring up his nativity, now we don't have a good birth time, but we can still capture this. His moon was in Cancer with Jupiter. So it's heavy Cancer energy with Bob Ross, and you really feel it. He felt nurturing just to hear him paint. That's why people watched his show. Sure, some were learning painting, but others just wanted to see Bob Ross express that loving Cancerian, enveloping us with this kind of nurturance that can be the type of Cancer energy that's so profound. And look where he had his Mars. His Mars was actually debilitated, just like Mars in Cancer would be debilitated. But it's a great example. You can use a debilitated Mars to act within the energies of the sign it's in. And so, for example, he has Mars in Libra, that's painting, right? You act to paint, that's Libra. Now we'll have Mars in Cancer, we act in the home to make the home beautiful, leaning on those aspects of Venus and Taurus, Saturn and Pisces, very creative to help us create however we're going to create with Mars in Cancer. And then he also had South Node in Scorpio. And so you get this water trine with Bob Ross, with his Sun and Venus in Scorpio. That's also, again, Mars and Venus combinations, painting, using the action and the tools of Mars to make art. So lovely, lovely to see the resonance in Bob Ross's nativity. I'm not going to break it down much more than that. It's just fitting. He's a fitting energy and a fitting birth chart to describe the vibe for March and April, these transits where you have Pisces and Cancer in that lovely water trine, and then the Scorpio moon that I'll talk about in a second. And so let's just come back. I just want to summarize. Major theme here of Aries season is that Mars in Cancer, which starts on the 25th of March, it arrives and it provides emotional workflow and a tool set of connection to the body and its movements and the intuition and the nurturance and the home and the people we love. Mars is tools. The moon and Cancer are those things I just mentioned, but it's combined with Saturn and Pisces, which adds the discipline, the structure, the slower process, the things that take time, the foundations, maybe even obstacles. And it's an artistic expansion to stay with something and build. This is like the perfect energy to have here. Right as we start getting into Pisces season, Pluto and Aquarius, and this new round of eclipses, to be like, okay, I'm just going to kind of build in the home and create, to manage this and to move and maneuver amongst these changes. And the Venus in the Taurus is literally painting landscapes. And so it's a major component of the energy that we get this season. Here's another generation from the AI I work with. They're calling it now collaborative art. So I consider this a piece that I've made, but in collaboration with the AI. It's not easy to get these. I mean, you really have to stick with prompts and you filter through things and you kind of find until you get the outputs that you like. But this one was beautiful. I really loved it. I thought it was kind of it's an abstract landscape, you might say. There's a bed, it looks like, right? Just hanging out and laying in bed. Could be perfect for this energy too. We act at home. What do we do when we act at home? Clean our room, rest in the room, use all the tools in the home to use our home well. I know for me, I've been cooking more lately. It's like I look at my tools, I'm like, let me use these. Let me cook more. That's all Mars in Cancer. Cooking in the home is almost perfect. Maybe the best delineation for Mars in Cancer. Okay, and here's the one other chart that I think is majorly emblematic of this water action home depth energy, and it's the 7 April 2023 chart. Right in the evening, you've got the moon in Scorpio. So this is only the second Scorpio moon since Saturn's been into Pisces, and it's freed in some ways from the squares from Saturn, and it can now trine Saturn. The Piscean foundational creative structures, those rooting to the depths of the reality through creativity, we get to use that now as the moon is in Scorpio, all of the transits over the next 3 years. And then you also get in this chart, which is why I love it. Look at the moon applying to trine Mars in a mutual reception by domicile, one of the most powerful mutual receptions you can get, while Venus is still in Taurus. And so this whole thing, in my view, it really does open up these ideas, support for finding the depths of what's really real. I think that's very Scorpionic. And I would say the tactics for that discovery would probably be emotional, feeling deliberately, even checking in, what am I feeling? Or if the feelings are really rough, like sometimes Scorpio moons can be, you can try to just let it out. Give the feelings permission to go as deep as they want to so they can be unearthed. See, this is when you can use Saturn and Mars for support in this way. And they're not throttling the moon here. The moon has really space to breathe. And that mutual reception brings us back into action in the home for emotional depth work. Action in the home and emotional depth work. Depth work, cooking to heal. Making a painting, if we're going to go back to Bob Ross, to process. Sometimes when I feel really crazy emotionally, I like to just lay down and acknowledge it. The first thing I just say, okay, I'm going crazy right now. This is an episode. And just being with that acknowledgement and not trying to shame at all. It's okay. We have emotional episodes. How would we be human otherwise, And those Scorpionic moons can be the great opportunity to purge and let the emotions flow out. The difficult emotions. It's an opportunity to give them space to be extracted or to be included because they're already there, but to be seen and integrated in a more profound way. What do I have here? In order to find comfort, one must dig deep. And so these foundations of the creative that Saturn's trying to give us in Pisces, I think the Scorpio moons now can give us sort of clay to work with as we're creating. The deeper sense of what's real and what's meaningful and what's painful, we can create from that place. That's why I love this chart. And this is an amazing quote from the Bell Jar, the Sylvia Plath novel. I wanted to pull it up here because I think this really does describe Scorpio moon and these trines and mutual receptions with Mars in Cancer and Saturn and Pisces. She says, I wanted to be where nobody I knew could ever come. And it's just so profound because that's what Saturn and Pisces is. It's going out. Saturn is seafaring in ancient texts. It's going out on the seas of creativity and going where no one's gone before. Dylan and Blonde on Blonde, or I think more like Bringing It All Back Home. You have all the music in the hip hop in the 90s with Saturn and Pisces. You've got the films. I've broken a lot of that down. More to come on the creative expansion themes of Saturn and Pisces, certainly. But that's when you combine the Scorpio moon, it's like, this is what I have to do. I have to go to my deepest places of who I am and why I was born here and why I was put here by the heavens. There's things that only you can do, that no one else in the world, 7 billion people, they cannot do it. It's only you and your soul and its unique expression in this reality. And that can be painful to find and to sift through the trauma and all of that. But this is what these water trines can do. And that Scorpio moon, beautiful chart and a beautiful opportunity to do all of those things. This output was cool. It was like a moon kind of hidden in its secret contained place. And so I thought this was perfect for that Scorpio moon. It's like Saturn and Pisces and Mars, maybe in Cancer somewhere in there too. Looks like it's a construction site. So maybe that's the Mars in Cancer. Okay, we made it. We made it here to the Jupiter Cazimi chart. It's the last chart I'm going to look at. And I talked about this a little bit earlier. It's 11 April right here, right as 10 April becomes 11 April in Central Europe, you get this perfection of the Sun-Jupiter conjunction in Aries in the 22nd degree. I was right to say 22nd when I corrected myself earlier. This is pure Jupiter. Remember what a Cazimi is. It burns everything away that's fetters, and it gets in and obfuscates. It purifies and makes clear the energy of a planet. And remember what Jupiter already is in Aries. It's the night triplicity ruler. You know, Jupiter has a lot of dominion over Aries. The way Aries can be maverick and go out and seek things and go out and find and initiate things. Those are all driven by Jupiterian visions with the Aries energy. And so the other thing is that the Sun is the exaltation lord of Aries, which, right, the regal, kingly sense of who I am and knowing what that is, and then maneuvering into reality with the martial action from clarity of self. That is the Sun in Aries. So you have this combination of and the blending of two of the three main ruling planets of Aries right here in the Cazimi. And it's very auspicious. It's a major activation that's positive here to lean into. This moment, this Cazimi, I think, is one to very much get excited about. The moon will be in Sagittarius in the days before that, and that might be a chart. I don't have it up here. I'm looking for elections in another videos. This isn't a video about elections, but I'm thinking that fire trine will be so lovely to get to experience, because you'll have the moon ruled by Jupiter applying to the Sun-Jupiter conjunction. A lot of fiery identity, talking about what we want and going out and doing that in reality. I have here identity, selfhood, truth of being. These drive action. And this is for a sector that will be eclipsed for 2 years. And so I see this as an opportunity to prep more than anything else. This is preparation. It's feeling into the power of Aries, right, and where it is, and everything we've done in Aries since 2022 when Jupiter first came there. But it's feeling into the flowering of that power and the wisdom and the Jupiterian revelations we've received and the sense of who we are. And we can step into that strongly here, and then prepare knowing that this will now get altered and changed. It's like, here I am, God, this is what I've become, and then now you can change this. It's like you're getting upgrades before these other major, deeper upgrades, the preparation for the change. The changes that come as preparation for the actual deeper, more profound nodal changes. That's what this moment is, and it's gonna be so beautiful, so enjoy it. I'm extremely happy about it. And keep in mind, I think other people might be talking about the Mars square, but look, Mars is mutually received by Jupiter here. This is why I'm not as worried about it. Mars in Cancer here is still, it's a night triplicity lord. The exaltation ruler of Cancer is Jupiter. The domicile ruler of Aries is Mars. They can mutually receive. They're pushing each other here, right? And sometimes the most Aryan, one of the darker sides of Aries is like we forget where we come from, we forget our home, we abandon home, right? Mars in Cancer is going to loop us back in to the foundations and the wombs we came out of. I mean that metaphorically, or even literally, if you're going to call your mom or grandma or something like this. But we get to connect this Aries maneuvering back into these roots of reality. And that's the beauty of Mars in Cancer. I think this square can propel, and maybe even if there's tension, like you're looking back on what you've come out of in 2022, I don't want to go back. You know, there could be tension there where we're forced to sort of envelop together or you know, make things cohere together, the past and the future, where we've come from and where we're going. And I think that tension may be here a little bit, but ultimately is auspicious with that Jupiter-Mars mutual reception. Okay, and so I pulled a poem for this energy, this Aries energy, and I wanted to read this because I think it's powerful as we prepare for these 2 years of eclipses in Aries, a cycle of 2 years where eclipses will come often during that 2-year cycle, and the nodes will be in Aries during that 2-year cycle. And this final Cazimi moment of Jupiter. This is a poem by William Ernest Henley. It's a famous poem, Invictus. And this is an English poet born in Gloucester, I think that's how you say that, in 1849, died in Woking, England, 1903. That's an interesting name for city, Woking, given that we have this whole idea of woke, you know, Woking, England. Okay, so let me just read some of the pieces, some of the stanzas. So here it begins, out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. And I love it because Jupiter is godly, connects us to the godly realms. And Jupiter is about that, you know, but this unconquerable soul, this is the Jupiter in Aries, right? Thank you, God, I'm powerful. You made me in your image, if you want to go to the Abrahamic version, and I'm powerful. And it's acknowledging that power. Perfect for the Cazimi. What do I have here? The indelible human spirit is to be celebrated amidst all the collective transformation and change since 2020. We've made it through, right? Astrologically, the cycles have shifted. Saturn is not in strong anymore. Pluto will be moving out of Capricorn. So we're here and we made it. It's the indomitable human spirit or the unconquerable soul. And then I want to go to that last one, I think. Solar eclipse in Aries arrives 9 days later after Jupiter and the Sun meet 8 degrees later. So we're preparing for that solar eclipse. But the final stanza, it matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. How Aries is that? Wow. And, you know, whatever you're going through with these changes, whatever you've gone through with the difficulties that have been in the immediate years that we've just come out of, you're the captain of your soul and your fate at some level, okay? It's not the only solution here, right? Aries is one archetype of 12. But this is kind of pure Aryan. You're the captor of your soul and the master of your fate, and it's the unconquerable soul. Feel that wherever Aries is hitting in your chart and step into your power right now because, you know, you need it. We're going to all need it. Come into our powers here as the world goes really wacko. And that's what my message is here for that Jupiter Cazimi, this William Hurst Henley poem, Invictus. Go read it. It's free online at Poetry Foundation. Just type it in. You can read the rest. And finally, just to touch base, look at Henley's nativity. C-rated time, but he has Pluto and Saturn in Aries. If there was ever someone to express those Aries themes, it's him with those major outer planets, you know, nestled there. And then that Scorpio moon. Henley's got it. And so when we think about the depths of pain that we have with some of that water energy, and then it's leaning here into this Jupiter Cazimi moment, think about someone like Henley. By the way, he was paralyzed, I think, from the waist down, or he lost a leg or something like this. And so he suffered great hardship as a young person. I think it was tuberculosis that caused injuries, and he suffered. He couldn't walk or lost a leg, I think it was. But the indomitable soul, he knows what he's talking about, right? That's Saturn and Aries. It's like he wants to be maverick, but he's got these limitations from Saturn, but still wins the day, right? Writing the poetry and just keeping the soul alive, no matter the hardship. So Henley's a great one. You know, even if our bodies are incapacitated or we're limited in other ways, we can still, you know, declare kind of power and move into reality however we're able to. So I love this theme for this Aries season. And that's it. That's all I'm going to go into here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for staying with me in this video. I know it wasn't as, you know, we could spend hours here going line by line. On this day, this happens. I don't like to do astrology that way. I don't like to, it gets boring fast and it's just kind of like, so what? The larger energetic themes of the moment are what's important. And of course, the little line by line stuff's always can be important too, but to me, that's not the meat of it. So I've just tried to give you what I think are some of the meat themes of what we're about to enter into. And I hope to have more videos breaking everything down in more detail when I can. Have a lovely, lovely Aries season. Enjoy these two moons in Aries. Two new moons, the second being a solar eclipse. And as always, you can go to my website, stranderson144.com. Check out what I do there, what readings I have available there. And I look forward to seeing you, and I'll come back soon with more videos. Take care.